Everyone, and welcome back. Today's explainer dives into literally one of the most fascinating cultural phenomena on the entire planet. We're looking at how a nation, known for its overwhelming, seriously almost staggering diversity, actually manages to maintain this profound, beautiful underlying unity. We're talking, of course, about India. If you've ever wondered how a society with thousands of different communities manages to hold together as one single, cohesive identity, well, you are absolutely in the right place. Let's get into it.
Now, to really grasp the sheer scale of what we are looking at, let's start with a quote from over a century ago by the British historian Vincent Smith. He asked, "How, in the face of such bewildering diversity, can a history of India be written?" The answer to the query is found in the fact that India offers unity in diversity. You see, for an outsider looking in, trying to make sense of this vastness has historically felt like a massive puzzle, like a real logistical nightmare. The sheer variety of life there just seems like it should completely defy being boxed into a single history.
And honestly, that leads us to the absolute most important question of our explainer today. While the diversity is incredibly easy to see, it's right there on the surface, how do we actually make out the unity underlying that diversity? How do we perceive and even express this idea of the many in the one?
Okay, so here's our roadmap for the explainer. First, the puzzle of India. Second, unity on the plate. Third, woven together, the sari. Fourth, epics that bind us. And finally, the many in the one.
Starting off with Section 1, the puzzle of India. Let's look at the immense scale of this place. So to put things in perspective, the text points out that India has over 1.4 billion inhabitants. Stop and think about that for a second. That is roughly 18% of the entire world's population living inside just one country. When you're dealing with a population that massive, deep diversity isn't just likely, it's practically a guarantee. If you ever take a train ride right across India, you literally watch the world transform outside your window. The landscapes shift, the styles of dress completely change, the food is completely different, and you'll hear just a myriad of different languages, some familiar, some totally unfamiliar, and you'll even spot totally different scripts written on the street signs as you go. Now, what's really mind-blowing here is the sheer scale of the hard data. Back in the late 20th century, the Anthropological Survey of India ran this massive People of India project. Just look at these numbers. They counted 4,635 distinct communities across all the states. They found 325 different languages being spoken, which used 25 distinct scripts. And they also noted that tons of Indians act as migrants, right? They live away from their original birthplaces and constantly mix across these lines. It's essentially a vibrant, constantly moving mosaic.
Moving on to Section 2, Unity on the Plate. Let's zoom into the everyday details, starting with food.
If you were to travel across those 4,635 communities, you'd find a literally endless array of regional dishes. But, and this is key, right beneath all that variety, there's a really strong foundational unity mapped out in the staple grains and pulses. Most Indians rely heavily on these exact same key ingredients. So whether it's kolam rice in one region, basmati in another, wheat, jowar, or various dals like chana or moong, these core staples act as a unifying baseline across the entire subcontinent. And you know what? The exact same thing is true for the flavors. While a dish in the north might taste vastly, fundamentally different from a dish in the south, they are very often pulling from a shared, common palette of spices. We're talking turmeric, cumin, cardamom, and ginger. These are used essentially everywhere, all throughout the country. So it really all boils down to this brilliant little equation. You have the exact same shared base ingredients. That's your unity. But they are utilized in an absolute explosion of creative, endless combinations, which is the diversity. Together, they create the entire Indian culinary experience. It perfectly shows us how the exact same foundational building blocks can be used to prepare just a limitless variety of dishes, without ever actually losing that common thread.
All right, Section 3, woven together. Let's look at another everyday pillar, clothing, specifically the sari.
Actually, before we dive into the sari itself, I've got to share this incredible historical fact from the text about India's legendary textile industry. For a very, very long time, India produced literally the finest cotton in the world. In the 17th century, this beautiful type of Indian-printed cotton called chintz became so overwhelmingly popular in Europe that it actually crashed the sales of local European dresses. It was such an intense craze that England and France literally had to ban the import of Indian chintz just to protect their own markets. Wow, right? So when we look at traditional Indian clothing, specifically the sari, we see something genuinely incredible. The sari is essentially just a plain, single length of unstitched cloth. yet it manages to unite the region through its unbelievable versatility. Historically, travelers marveled at its simplicity and economy. Women put the sari to amazing uses that go way, way beyond just being a dress. As you can see, it acts as a tool for washing or even as a really secure way to help carry heavy loads.
And it doesn't stop there. The exact same garment seamlessly transforms into a makeshift hammock for resting or a highly effective shield against the heavy rain. It is the perfect metaphor, honestly. One simple, shared item, the unity, adapted for incredibly diverse needs and environments.
Let's jump to Section 4, Epics that Bind Us, zooming back out to the big, shared narratives.
Just to make sure we're all entirely on the same page here, the text defines an epic pretty simply. It's a long poem, generally narrating the adventures of heroes and other great figures of the past. And in India, there are two massive epics that provide a profound sort of cultural glue.
We're talking about the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. Now, to give you an idea of just how epic these actually are, in their original Sanskrit versions, these two poems together might fill something like 7,000 pages. The Mahabharata tells the story of the Pandavas fighting their cousins, the Kauravas, to re-establish Dharma. Meanwhile, the Ramayana follows Rama as he defeats the demon Ravana to rescue his wife Sita. But here's the thing. They aren't just ancient action stories. They're filled with hundreds of smaller embedded stories that are constantly asking really tough moral questions about what is right and wrong. And those specific moral questions, they resonate across virtually every single community in those 1.4 billion people.
And finally, Section 5, the many in the one. Let's pull all these threads together. So the really crucial point here is captured just beautifully by the philosopher Sri Aurobindo. He wrote, "The principle of unity and diversity, which has always been normal to India, the many in the one, would place her on the sure foundation of her Swabhava and Swadharma." Basically, what he's saying is that this isn't some historical accident. This balance, the many in the one, is the fundamental nature, the absolute core being of the country itself. The diversity here doesn't divide people, it actually enriches them.
And you know, this wasn't just some abstract high-level idea discussed by historians in dusty rooms. When India's first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, traveled the country before independence, he saw this unity living and breathing in the everyday people. He noted that everywhere he went, the old epics were just widely known among the masses. He observed that even illiterate villagers would know hundreds of verses by heart, and their conversation would be full of references to them. Every incident, every story with a moral, was deeply engraved on the popular mind. They all share those exact same foundational stories, much in the same way they share the same foundational spices and fabrics.
All of which leaves us with quite a bit to chew on today. Whether it's the simple ingredients in our kitchens, the incredibly versatile clothes on our backs, or the timeless stories that help teach us right from wrong, India absolutely proves that incredible diversity doesn't have to mean division. So, I want to leave you with this question to ponder today. How do you see the many in the one reflected in your own community? Take a look around. You might be really surprised by the underlying unity you find. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring.